Welcome back on the AM show. It's time now for us to get into the various stories captured in the newspapers. And I've been sandwiched between two fine gentlemen. To my right is Benjamin Akakpo, who's always matching me, by the way. I don't know why he's wearing black.
Your left, huh?
I'm wearing a green necklace and you have a green tie.
I'm to your left, huh?
You're to my right.
I'm not going to.
And to my left, we have Remy Edmondson, the National Secretary for PPP. It's good to have you in the studio. Well, gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, this segment is always brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And as always, they're offering you same for free. If you're a man, prostate screening for free. I'll be asking Remy Edmondson when last he got his prostate screening. But you can pass by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic and get screening for free. If you're a woman, I'll also be checking on Sweetie Abochi to find out when the last time was that she got any fertility screening. You can get both of those for free at Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. All you have to do, just walk into any of their branches. Thankfully, there are many of them. Let's start with Accra. They're at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Then there's Kumasi Kronum Abuehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Energy Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and the Siaman Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic.
The end to chronic disease.
All right, so let's get right into it.
Mr. Edmondson, as we do on the show, you have about a minute to get into any topical issue of national interest that you want to respond to. What's on your mind?
Yes, so it's actually the PPP's position. We put out a press release this morning.
The PPP's position on
the
what?
Attorney General's situation with Mr. Japa, the ambulance issue. But basically, we want to reiterate something we've hammered on for the past 12 years, since the party was formed, that it is necessary for us to decouple the positions of the Attorney General and the Minister for Justice. We are currently having a situation where the MPP has waded into the situation, made it so partisan. I mean, even before the Attorney General himself has...
They've made it partisan?
Yes, because you've had certain key members actually indicating that he's not going to resign, and, I mean, indicated that he's innocent of all this, saying that take his doctor. We haven't had any real investigation. Most importantly, we've not heard the Attorney General speak. So it's become so partisan, and we feel that if the position is truly made independent, which some people have been calling for, together with the special prosecutor position, then we can avoid some of these situations, because once politics comes in, it just makes the whole situation murky. And as happens in this country, politicians come in, it becomes MPP, NDC, and the whole matter just dies off. So that's something we want to reiterate, that it's a call for Ghanaians to still come up with this issue. Let's really discuss it properly, and let's ensure that there's fairness. There needs to be confidence in the judiciary by all Ghanaians. It shouldn't be that the president appoints a particular person. It's going to make it difficult for him to fight corruption, particularly from when it involves the government of the day.
So the position of the PPP is the call to decouple the office of the
we are
Minister of
something we've been
Justice,
saying for the past 10 years. That's
all right. Benjamin, any thoughts before we get into the papers?
I mean, now there's also the Supreme Court Chief Justice. I have intentionally avoided mentioning his name throughout. Don't do that. Who is also catching some fire, getting some flack, you know.
Stray bullets.
I don't know. Now, I don't think they are stray anymore. Now they are more direct. Yes. I've heard Roxanne Nelson Dafiamako. I've seen some of what he said on the matter. It just makes me sad, because that Supreme Court Justice as well is someone I also, you know, have a lot of respect for, and how all of this happened, and the claims that there's even a relation to the third accused, Richard Jakpa, and that he invited the person and sort of the AG was ambushed, but you also cannot take away what was said, you know. So in the tape and then in this other instance, it just makes for murky reading. And for me, I would rather, especially on the back of the polarized political space we have, a la the executive arm of government, and again, the mistrust when it comes to the judiciary and what we are. It just makes for, the optics are not good. They are simply not good. And I don't know, but I can forecast the calls for resignation will not get anywhere. That will not happen. And I don't think the president will dismiss him either. I honestly don't think so.
Like you said, going by precedence,
Yes.
That's not something we're going to see.
If we go by precedents. But
here we are.
speaking of which,
Yeah.
I have said that in some parts of the world, it is not about being wrong. It is about being seen to be wrong. And the person will say, okay, you know what? Because of my care for this office,
Right.
I'm going to step aside. I'm going to establish my innocence, but I'm going to step aside anyway so that whatever can happen, and then not Ghana. So you spoke about, about you. Let's leave it
Also
there.
for the person's reputation as well. I mean, those
Yeah,
are issues.
yeah. But anyway,
Well, let's get into the newspapers. I have very little to say about this case. I just really I'm genuinely curious to see how it all plays out, you know, because of over-politicization of the matter, the people involved. Let's just see how it plays out.
yeah.
So, starting with the Daily Guide newspaper, on the front page, live telecast for anti-gay bill cases. The Chief Justice, Gertrude Okono's picture is there. 3 caged over alleged sextortion. Bawumia message good, that is according to the TUC. And we see Dr. Anthony Yalba presenting the TUC manifesto to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. KGL bosses overall best CEO. NEIP, Initiative Transform Entrepreneurship, that is according to Nana Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic. Let's start with page 3 of the Daily Guide newspaper. Bawumia message good. I'll touch on all of these quickly and then we can get our reaction. So the Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Anthony Yalba, has praised the "It is Possible" campaign message of the New Patriotic Party. That is the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. The TUC Secretary stated in a meeting with Dr. Bawumia that the message "It is Possible" is an important and good statement for the nation. Now, according to him, the message speaks to the hopes and aspirations of many Ghanaians and seeking to positively develop and change the country. So they are buying into Dr. Bawumia's "It is Possible," the bold solutions for the future, and then they presented him with a TUC manifesto to look at it in preparing their overall manifesto. Live telecast for anti-gay bill cases. The Judicial Service has granted full access to media houses to broadcast all court cases relating to the passage of the controversial Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2024, locally referred to as the anti-gay bill. And we already saw the first part of that live telecast in court. So the move comes as a result of the public interest generated by the cases that have been initiated against both the passage and the president potentially assenting to it. At the Supreme Court, Richard Delaska and Dr. Amanda Odoi have filed separate suits challenging the constitutionality of the passage of the bill for various reasons. We're all abreast with this ongoing issue. Halting the dancing seed, it's an editorial.
It's dancing. I went somewhere yesterday and trust me, the dance is not a good dance.
Yeah. We just need some good policy framework, Benjamin.
Someone made me
One good
go and make
policy
some
framework.
inquiry yesterday. And I'm not going to, but when I went to this place, do you know how much they were pegging? I mean, the rate, because what the person wanted done, they were pegging it at 15.9.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally 16. The euro is 16 plus. The pound is at 19.
It's terrible.
It should hit 20 by the end of the year. I think end of
Did
year.
you say should? Please don't say
Yeah.
should. How should it do that? Let's pray that
Look
it.
at the pace at which it's going.
But come to think of it, it's not prayers that will.
See, again, the issue of
Prayers may help, but
rather than working to fix it, there was it the deputy minister? Was it 2 days ago who said that it would have been 50 cedi by now if it was NDC in power?
But there's some
Which is not what we are looking at.
$2.3 million expected to be injected into the economy to stabilize the city. Both the finance minister and the...
yeah, there are different things that will go into
Yeah.
into those coming. But you see, we become so dependent. The economy is so bad, and it's been bad for a while. But you know, like I was saying the other day, you can't even balance your budget without support from external forces. So imagine, God forbid, there is some massive economic downturn and some countries can't do what they do, and even the IMF is affected.
Yeah.
Yes, we know how the IMF works. We are all contributors, we are all members and all of that. But just imagine something cataclysmic happens. What then happens to you? You can't, and you see, we've still not learned the lessons of COVID. Do you remember the K90 what masks? Do you remember at a point, They weren't anywhere because the Chinese were not manufacturing them. They were hoarding them in their country. Yeah. That was when we said, oh, we are going to. So our own production, whatever, what's happening to them now? If we had an epidemic today, I bet you we'll still go back to some of those. Sure. This country, I'm sorry, but some things make no sense.
That's not being checked. I mean, that's one of the key factors that's been identified. I mean, there was this report I read that said much of the imports is controlled by foreigners, not by Ghanaians. So it may be seen that Ghana is importing so much, but it's actually foreign companies here who afterwards repatriate the funds back to their parent company.
Recently, Dr. The Inshiaeso MP, we all call him Sticker, so sometimes his name gets out of Dr. Stephen Amwa, has been talking about, the bit that, oh, there's this ritual where, because we import so much and all of that. I was listening to it and I was asking myself, but that's why you guys came. You said you would move from taxation to production, and that you had 1D, 1F. These were some of the issues 1D, 1F was supposed to, because indeed, he is right, but he's wrong from the standpoint of now regurgitating that problem to us. Leaders are fond of that. You come to solve the problem, and then later you come and tell us the problem. Why did we put you there?
Sure.
But let me finish my paper, and then we can continue the conversation. So 3 caged over alleged sextortion. 2 male students from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and another individual have been remanded in custody by Circuit Court in Takoradi for allegedly blackmailing a 20-year-old man. The accused are Jerome Enyam, 19, a resident of Fijai near Takoradi, and Ebenezer Adam, 19, of Kojokrom in Sekendi, and Awudu Adams, 28, also of Fijai, a resident and a junior high school graduate. They allegedly threatened to post an intimate video of Randolph Owusu Hammond and his girlfriend on social media unless he paid them 1,800 Ghana cedis. I don't know how you feel about that. And now this is the final story I'll do, and I'll come to you, gentlemen. Initiative Transforms Entrepreneurship. That's the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program on Ghana's entrepreneurship landscape. Speaking at the 3rd Applied Research Conference of Technical Universities in Ghana in Sunyani, the president detailed successes of the NEIP in its contributions to reducing youth unemployment and stimulating economic growth. Gentlemen, your reactions on this Bawumia message good according to the TUC, and the live telecast for anti-gay bill. What other stories did we do? We already gone into the dancing CD, and then this 3 caged over alleged sextortion, and finally the entrepreneurship transformation.
But let me say that dance the city is dancing is alien to Ghanaians. That dance is not a dance that is known in Ghana. It's a foreign dance.
What dance is it? Benjamin, as long as I can remember, even I'm very, as long as I can remember.
All our dances in this country are traditional. They are, and this is foreign. This dance, we don't like. We don't like this dance.
All right, but
okay, so let me take the TUC meeting with
Dr. Bawumia.
So, yes, I can understand why they would say, yes, the messages, everything he's been saying sounds so good on paper. But what beats me so much is I thought he being a sitting vice president, he being in government, would have used the opportunity. In the last few months, there have been so many promises he's been making, but the catch is that I can only do them only when I come into power. And I thought he being in government and having some authority this would have been a perfect time to demonstrate to Ghanaians that I don't need to wait till I have won power, but I can do some of these things right now. I can start now. Talking about fixing the CD, talking about making the economy better. Why don't you start now and let's see what goes? Why do we have to wait till?
He's not in the driver's seat.
But I can understand that. But typically in an election year, it's almost everywhere. The running mates does have, because the government wants to ensure that he wins. So he does have, he may not be the president, sitting president, or we didn't vote for him, but I can assure you he does have some authority. So I find it funny that he keeps saying he can't do anything now at all until he's given power, which I really find difficult to swallow. That's my problem.
Well, he said that he doesn't have the steering, so give him the steering and then...
Let's look at your paper now.
Okay. So I have here NEIP creates 103,871 jobs from 2017 to 2023. That's from the president.
Is that the Ghanaian Times?
Ghanaian Times
Ghanaian
newspaper,
Times,
right?
yes, that's correct. Then the first batch of pilgrims from Tamale arrived in Jeddah. The 184 on death row in Ghana. That's an Amnesty International report.
Wow.
And then Ghana set to become first African country to establish a small modular reactor.
But you know the story about those on death row, we have had some reviews and all of that. I would like to know what that story says.
It says a total of 184 convicts are on death row in Ghana as at April this year, according to Amnesty International's World Human Rights 2023 report. The tally increased from last year's 180 after 4 persons were sentenced to death during the first quarter of this year. The report in relation to Ghana focuses on witchcraft accusations, women's and girls' rights, sexual minority rights, excessive use of force, right to health, and environmental issues. Yeah. But I think it basically focuses on, the story focuses more on the events. Yes, and
because we've actually, I know there were some engagements on this in Parliament, and I'm just not certain about, there's something in my mind, I'm not certain, so I'll check it out. But I also do know that no people have been executed, practically, if I'm not mistaken, since the 90s.
Right.
So
I think, okay.
Then there have been calls as well that, look, just abolish, repeal.
Right.
So I know there's something in
the
there.
last, yes, the last 2 paragraphs says the former President Dramani Mahama, a statement read on his behalf, pledged to commute the death sentences of all 184 convicts on death row to life imprisonment. Additionally, he said if he re-elected, his government would review the provision on death penalty in Ghana Criminal Offences Act.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But I mean, the little I have to say on this, generally it has to do with our whole incarceration system, which, I mean, whichever government in power needs to really look at, because we still have a high rate of recidivism, which is where you have repeat offenders coming out. And I mean, I've had the opportunity to go in there to Insaom a couple of times. That's the same, those on remand, sorry, the death sentence. And I mean, conditions are just terrible. And at the end of the day, if somebody goes in there and they come out after such treatment of all that we hear going on there, let's not forget that they come in there to interact with us. And we bear the brunt of their bitterness and anger, and also they end up influencing others who go in back then. So I think it's good, but let's also look at those others who also will be going in there for sentences ranging from a few months to a few years, and who are coming. And then the whole thing about sentencing regime, yes, let's look at community sentencing to help cut down the overcrowding in our prison cells. And
I mean, people will always point to, because I'm a student of this, people will point to the fact that you can have those that the optics will show have engaged in some wrongdoing because they are powerful in society. Likely nothing will happen. But there's common man that's some nokofio. It's not right. Sure. But can we have community service? Can we have, and that's why it is good that we have this non-custodial sentence thing coming in, because some of them are necessary, and our prisons are overflowing with human beings, and we can't even take care of them. You remember Operation Efiase, people, 1 cedi. I mean, people are surviving on 1 cedi and the rest. I know that maybe by now there may have been, but in this economic time, what is 1 cedi?
Enough, yes.
What fraction of $1 is that? 1/16? I mean.
And you see, we buy with that money?
Yeah,
Did you mention witchcraft? Did you say most of them are...
It says the report. Right. The report was in relation to Ghana's focuses on witchcraft accusations, women's and girls' rights, sexual minority rights, excessive use of force, right to health, and environmental issues. So I think these were other issues that...
You know, some people too may have been convicted because they had... You remember that incident of the old woman who was killed, flogged, killed? You know, those... So I'm sure some of these may relate to those issues where people are branded. And that's one interesting thing about the law. How do you prove a spiritual matter in a court of law?
Right.
Hence the Criminal Offences Act.
So,
yeah.
It's now a law, I hope.
Yeah.
Anyway. Benjamin, do you still have some stories you want to get into there before?
I don't want to be touched. I mean, it's something on Apostle Joe Obibi's calling for the arrest and prosecution of Galamsey's.
Okay. All right. We can look at your paper then.
All right, Daily Graphic newspaper. Government votes 700 million Ghana cedis for book research allowances since 2020. I know there have been a number of protests on this. Professor Jampo, good morning. I know you together with others have spoken about this time without number. I'll review Labour Act to protect workers, Bawumia assures TUC. More cancer treatment centers needed, that's according to an oncologist. And Ghana card as sole identification. Political parties give EC green light to lay new bill. On the back page, Andre Ayew dropped, coach opts for youth. That's in respect of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. There are some 2 matches we're going to play where he's not going to feature. I think I saw a post by, is it Abedi Ayew Pele? Let me get to that post. And he says, when there's life, there's hope, or where there's life, there's hope. I don't know whether, so someone comes underneath to say, go and build that hope around Nania FC. Another one says, them no call your kiddy small, no, you they tweet. But you see, these are matters, yes, some emotions are attached to them. Can we justify, because I look at the run of Andre Ayew in the last how many matches since he moved to his new club. And actually, he scored about 5 goals or so within a short space of time and all of that. So if it were just 4, yes, of course, he's not as fit as he was how many years ago in 2010, 2012, before, right after they had won the youth championship and all of that. But are we saying we don't need him even in reserve to play 10, 15 minutes or something of the sort? Some of these young people, yes, let's give them a chance. But anyway, I'm not the coach, but I'm just saying that Otoado ought to analyze some of these things very well. Sometimes it's the optics of it. Sometimes it's 5 minutes of impact. And sometimes it is whether in trying to solve problems, we don't create more problems. Yeah. And I think if the father is tweeting about it, he has a right to do so. Doesn't he have the right to have an opinion about his child playing? He has a right to do so.
There's this worrying trend of where we actually bastardize and run down our players who have served the country so well.
In fact, our heroes and heroines.
They get into the twilight of their playing career. And often you find that, there are so many interests at play. Let's face it, people are, club owners and who else are also trying to get their players in there to be called up. So there's a lot of manipulation that goes on behind the scenes. And running down people actually is not the best. I think that's something sports fans, we all love sports. This is a staple of the nation. We need to look at that. People who have given their lives and their careers for the country have done so well. Ayew has been one of the most committed Black Stars players and captains we've had. So, it happened to Asamoah, it's happening to him. We shouldn't let this trend continue because the darling players of today, let's not forget, just a few years ago, he and his brother were the darling players of the Black Stars. And this is what is happening now.
I wouldn't be surprised if, at some point, you see how people are all gaga over Mohamed Kudus.
Right.
Watch this space.
Perfect.
That is Ghana for you.
Exactly.
We celebrate you today.
Yes.
Oh, Hosanna in the highest.
Let a new kid
next day, crucify him. Crucify him.
Sometimes it's just a lack of systems, and these players come back to the country and they cannot perform as well, but they go to these foreign clubs and they're killing themselves because they're motivated enough, because the systems they work, because they're given a great environment to train and thrive. And so they come back here and
on a more serious note.
Because we have not created the platform for them to excel, but we are bashing them.
The thing is, I am patriotic, right? But I know that when I come and pick an injury here,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to have,
with no insurance.
Look at Thomas Partey. Do you know how long he's been out of? Do you know what that is doing? If not for his skill, he probably would have been let go of by Arsenal.
True.
You get it. You come and kill yourself for Ghana. Someone told me of being on a flight and the person, you remember the money kissing in 2014 and all of that, but someone said, a sports administrator. Now look at how much a technical team member will get and how much a player will get. It's I'm sorry, but it's some sort of rip-off. We've monetized and even worse, politicized. Right. So sometimes you have an NPP caucus in the national team, an NDC caucus in there, and we think we'll do anything better. We will not. There's no unity. There's not fairness.
Exactly.
And In addition to all of that, our heroes and heroines. I keep remembering always that long jumper, Gazy, if you remember, who switched to the Netherlands, and another lady. People pick up injuries. People who were winning medals for us. And I'm wading into athletics here. Yet, when another country takes care of them, nurtures them, then you want to come and tap into it. Who does that?
We do that.
Anyway, let me just... I think you may have wanted to add something. Let me just do the story.
There's talking of the injuries, Jerry Kamiko as well. I mean,
yeah,
that was one fantastic defender we lost. But I mean, after he what was it? Yes, I don't know how well the GFA been, because there were some reports I read about he being ignored and feeling bitter.
Well, that one is common.
You see,
even recently there was someone I think who won a medal for us in the African Games. A lady was complaining. I think she won gold, and she was complaining that they were giving out some $8,000 or something dollars, and you ignore the person. Bitterness. Will I come and compete for you? I'm being honest. I will not. Patriotism. Are the politicians being patriotic? They are living well. Then you say, oh, be patriotic, be patriotic. Yes, patriotism. But if patriotism yields nothing for you, if your country will give you nothing, if they'll give you bad roads, you go to the hospital, you are likely to die out of the most common diseases and all of that. Inflation is where it is. You honestly expect people to be so patriotic and all of that?
Do you agree that
it's a nonsensical sentiment?
The country is just a reflection of who we are as a people. Do you
I don't agree with that. The country does not reflect me.
Okay.
This country,
people,
it doesn't reflect
right?
me.
We live here.
But by and large,
treat us the way they do.
By and large, I do agree that our leaders reflect the generality. But Ghana doesn't reflect me. Not my principles, not my way of thinking. It doesn't.
Okay.
On the matter of leadership, yes, I agree. Yeah, because look at what we've been talking about, the partisan nature. But regardless of how badly a leader performs, his party folks, look at what they will say. They'll come and defend it and ignore the merits of the situation just because he's from my party. And worse off, reference something that the other party did when they were in opposition and then rubbish the whole issue. Nobody talk about corruption today and they'll say, when NPP was also in power, NDC was in power, they also did this. Recently with the snitch sale saga to Rock City, look at the comment from the NPP food soldiers. Not even food soldiers, but some key leaders that now they are bringing out records of what NDC also did. State assets that were also sold. The question is, was it right? If what they did then was not correct, it shouldn't justify, it shouldn't happen now as well when you're in power.
But are we angry enough? Aren't we enabling them?
Aren't
we giving them that confidence that they can do these things and get away with it?
Yes, once they know they can always buy
little to no
voters,
consequences.
Yes.
So, I mean,
once they know election time, they can always spread a few CDs and get the votes. They'll keep doing that.
Are you done with your story?
I'll just do this one and then. So Ghana card as sole identification. Political parties give EC green light to lay new bill. I know Remy will want to talk about that. I'll just get into it very quickly. So political parties have given the EC the green light to go ahead and lay a new bill in Parliament to make the Ghana card the sole document for identification of citizenship. The chairperson of the EC, Jean Mensah, has disclosed. In line with the advice by political parties, she said the EC would lay a fresh bill before Parliament during the next session, starting from June 11, 2024. Such a document will help remedy some inherent electoral infractions, such as the busing of minors as experienced during the just-ended limited voters registration exercise. Then, more cancer treatment centers needed. The two main national cancer treatment centers in Accra and Kumasi have been described as woefully inadequate for a population of 34 million Ghanaians. Because of this, patients have to go through a long waiting time before they are put on the radiotherapy machine for treatment. I'll end it there, but you know, in recent times, they were talking about the fact that I think there are only two at Kolebu or so. So women, for example, so you have cervical or whatever, they will not check you early. By the time, because there's a queue of many hundreds, if I'm not mistaken. And then by the time it gets to you, Yariano, it has escalated because cancers, you know how they proliferate.
Early detection
and before you get there, you also spent months, probably years, at other centers who haven't been able to detect it.
Exactly. Because of our counter two of not getting medical checkups. So by the time you get there, it's already got to a certain advanced stage. By the time you get your radiotherapy thing, you are practically, you're approaching death's door, unfortunately.
That we don't do regular checkups. Is it an issue of culture?
It's a matter of
issue?
No. It's both.
It's both, actually.
Okay.
People are not attuned to, even people who have money, they are not attuned to it until sometimes. Until you feel something, they will never go.
Then my experience is different. The people I know who are wealthy or rich, they don't take checkups
well,
lightly. And the people like...
different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, so
but I want
briefly
to...
on... Okay, sorry.
No, on the EC, you finish, and then I'll add...
Yes, yes, we had the IPAC meeting yesterday, and this matter came up. But, you know, I need to put this out that sometimes the EC has a way of coloring decisions or outcomes of IPAC meetings. I mean, what they put out is somewhat often not...
It's not what...
true reflection of what
So
happened.
you're saying this is not a true reflection of...
It's not. In fact, this morning, I saw this when I was coming, and I sent it to a few of the other general secretaries who were present yesterday, and look at what they put out.
So you're saying sometimes you go to the IPAC meetings and discuss something, but
They put out different
EC
things.
puts out something
It's a
different.
fact. And you go, you
Wow.
tell them later, but it's a fact. You can call up. I mean, you have contacts of others, you can call them up. What happened yesterday, in fact, I think at the last IPAC meeting or the previous one, where the EC admitted that, in fact, the meetings are there to share. I can share them with you after the program. That we're not going to submit this year again, which they started last year because of the time frame between now and looking at the time frame from now to. There were a lot of stakeholder views which they considered that it was too short and it brings in a whole lot of agitations. Now, yesterday, we talked about the ongoing voter exercise, which actually ended yesterday, yes. And the issue of the Ghana curriculum, the issue of minors, we had reports of some instances where, I mean, minors came in there, used the guarantor system. There were, I think, somewhere in the north, an issue of 17 people were allowed to, presented fake Ghana cards. They didn't present the cards. The cards were written on a sheet of paper, and the EC official registered them.
Right.
Now, that person was arrested. That EC official it was in their own press release statement. And one of my colleagues questioned them that, why would you allow, and then later, those same 17 people were allowed to register through the guarantor system.
Yes.
So we questioned them, so why were they not arrested, or whoever brought them, and why was just only
the minors were not the ones who were doing anything wrong.
Yes. No, in this case, they were not even minors. They were harmed. So the issue of the Ghana, we all agree that yes, if the Ghana card was available and could have been the sole source of identification, it cuts out a lot of these things. But then the other thing was that clearly we all know that the NIA is the one office giving out the cards. And the fact is that people still are not getting them. So at no point in time was this decision made, because that has always been the outcome that many people, in fact, it's over there. They gave out the statistics that about 63% of the people who registered recently use the guarantor system.
Yes.
And that's
63%.
Yes.
I've not seen that yet, but that's huge.
These were statistics General shared at the meeting yesterday.
Right.
I think about 33% use the Ghana card.
Right.
So that's a testament.
That's quite a deficit.
Yes, exactly. So even one party told that it means that they have a lot of work themselves to do to make sure that collaborate.
So this whole concept of insisting on let's use the Ghana card.
We're to collaborate with the NIA to ensure that they can release the cards out, especially to them, and also ensure that they have some kind of system that they can integrate with to ensure that, okay, we put in this Ghana card, we know that this person has this detail, and makes their work seamless. So at no point in time was...
These are matters we'll have to interrogate. Maybe today we'll see whether we can get someone from the EC.
That today begins the registration process for special voting. That is journalists, media persons, security agencies, and personnel who might be assigned for various electoral functions and cannot vote at the original polling station. The EC says that across all the 200 and something districts, EC offices, you can go and register to partake in the special voting. And so that's that. If you fall in that category, you should absolutely take advantage of this.
Is there any headline we've not looked at that you would like to, just before we go?
No. KGL bosses overall best CEO.
3 caged over alleged sextortion.
We did that story.
Oh, we've done it already.
Yeah, about two junior high school graduates who are demanding 1,800 CDs from a man. Otherwise, they'll leak some nude photos of...
Do you remember the Presec one where some students, he faked his kidnapping? And I mean, some of the things nowadays that these young ones are doing.
They want money, Benjamin.
And who taught them that?
Yeah, but
Sharp.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know.
Our politicians are part of those who have taught them. You see people who have not had whatever, and then they are in. Look, some people at a certain place, members of the executive, who were, you know them, and all of a sudden they have houses put up, they have entities. I mean, when you do that, what do you think the young people will think? So now you see young people, just to wrap, Someone told me recently that she spoke to another high-ranking officer, let's say a managing director, and a young person who had come in came to her and asked her, show me how I can get to your level, your role in 5 to 10 years. And she laughed. It had taken her over 20 years, about 25 years to get there.
Now,
people want things so quickly because some people are also feeling that, there must be avenues of doing that.
And it's not just that, they are seeing young ones. I mean, the elderly are just too far off. They are just seeing their contemporaries and younger ones who just entered into politics recently. And yes, all of a sudden making it. So they can relate to them.
Anyway, Remy Edmondson, thank you very much for joining the conversation, the PPP. Oh, which also reminds me, have you seen that video of Papa Kusindum making the rounds?
Yes.
We have to go, but I couldn't help it. I just remembered.
Yes, it's, I had to, between my take, it was either between that or the statement from the government that they had paid some 49 billion to contractors,
Right.
which the Association of Contractors has come out to the bank.
Yeah.
The government actually owes them close to 16 billion cedis, and they are asking them to tell us who exactly have you paid. I mean, it connects to this Dr. Kwakweko, the GM Bank, Bring Back GM Bank tour. I mean, his contention is that much of the money is with the government. The government has refused to pay contractors, some as far back as 2016. And if you pay me, I can be liquid, you see.
Talking about 7+ billion Ghana cedis. Anyway.
That's really a lot of money.
That's
actually, the fact that, you see, the receiver is leaving all these assets out there to rot. Cars are being stolen.
I even saw one of the cars, it appears the engine and all that have been taken.
Those have been taken away all over, and that's really not a good picture.
Well, thank you very much, Remy Edmondson of the PPP, for joining the conversation. I nearly switched your party. Well, this segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering you still, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. I didn't ask Remy about whether he got his screening recently. You can go to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And also, fertility screening for free. Sweetie Abochi, you can pass through and get that. Just reach out to them at any of their branches. Accra Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takrade Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanswa, and Esiamanzima. You can also reach them via phone on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Bringing us to the end of the news review and the start of sports. Up next, Tuesday. Okay.